the science guy. Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill, 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 Bill. Bill Nye, the science guy.
Science rules.
Bill Nye, the science guy.
Inertia is a property of matter.
Bill Nye, the science guy. Bill, Bill, Bill.
T minus 7 seconds.
Hey everyone, I know you're expecting Bill Nye the Science Guy trip, so I'm going to be taking over his new experiment, the acid attack. When CO2 in the atmosphere dissolves into rain, it becomes a natural acid. It can dissolve and erode rocks. This is called acid rain. This experiment, acid attack, shows how chemical erosion works. Now we have everything pre-labeled here. We're substituting the rocks as regular home chalk. We have lemon juice and vinegar used to represent the acid. And we also have a graduated cylinder to measure each amount. Now, for any experiment, make sure you have the proper procedures and proper safety rules beforehand. First of all, make sure your hair is back so it's away from anything so it won't catch on fire. Secondly, make sure your sleeves are not sagging so it will not be catched. Thirdly, do not drink, swallow, nor eat any of the experiment substances. Also, make sure everything's stable, not away from the edge, so it cannot be fallen or spilled. Now, also, one of the most big important things: always put your goggles on. So, the first part of this experiment is to measure off lemon juice, vinegar, and also water, which is known as H2O. Well, you can use various different types of measuring instruments, but today we use the graduated cylinder. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to measure lemon juice. First, you pour it in up to the 25 milliliter mark. Pour slowly as it reaches the top. Now you see the actual thing reaches to the mark. We don't want the top actual part, we want the bottom of the actual liquid to be measured. The reason why we chose 25 milliliters of lemon juice is because we want the chalk to be three-quarters submerged. Before we actually measure the vinegar, I pre-washed this to make sure there's no any lemon substance in here to compromise the actual experiment. So again, as we did with the lemon juice, we're going to take 25 milliliters of vinegar and measure with the graduated cylinder. Now do it slowly because, yet again, we want to make sure the actual space is actually 25 milliliters. Now, yet again, we're going to pour it with the chalk, three-quarters submerged within vinegar. As stated before, we re-wash the graduated cylinder to make sure nothing will be compromised during this experiment. Now, we had a lack of glassware, so to differentiate between vinegar and water, we put the water in an actual mug. Now again, we're going to be measuring 25 milliliters of H2O. And we'll be we'll be actually submerging three-quarters of the chalk in H2O to get the full effect. As you see in the effects of this experiment, they're all duly noted so we can actually tell the difference between each. And reminder, do not eat or drink any of these in the experiment. Now, as for the H2O, represents normal rain, normal vault, and have you seen there is no actual change or erosion on first glance. This is our concept for experiment to show what is normal in this experiment. Now, as we go to the vinegar, you can clearly see that there's a significant change. This has a higher acidity than water, which has none, but it's not as weak as the lemon. Lemon, you see a complete dissolution of the actual chalk. Now, as you see, this experiment shows the different effects that acidity has on actual rocks, or in this case, chalk. The higher you go, the quicker the change and the more dramatic the change than actual in between. Now, acid rain is not as acidic as vinegar, but is in between both vinegar and water. This seems not much of a significant change because you can see the actual chalk still in the actual vinegar solution, but with the consistent rate of acid rain falling due to pollution and other natural causes, this actually takes a toll on the environment. The environment actually slowly erodes, not as fast as most. Now, as we can do a comparison between all three of the chalks within a few moments of introducing all three compounds, H2O, vinegar, and lemon juice. Now, as you can see, H2O remains normal as it once originally was. Now, as we go to the vinegar, you've noticed significant erosion, like small markings actually on the chalk and actual chalk dust and liquid residue on the sides. Now, with the lemon juice, it's completely, the girth has significantly reduced as well as the length. Now, as we compare between our comps, the H2O and the actual vinegar solution, you can see the difference in shape and change. Now, when you look at the lemon and the actual H2O, the changes are greatly noted. Now, one of the most important parts of the experiment is the actual last. Make sure you dispose of everything according to how it properly should be.